Welcome to another edition of Bet with Bobano, Monday, April the 1st, brand new month. Ian Cameron with you, and I am here. It's going to be a brief, abbreviated edition of the show. I was hoping I'd have a little more time to go with an extended edition of the show, but we're going to have to go rapid fire in and out in about 15 minutes. But during that time, we will rapid fire through the NBA slate and the MLB slate. Yes, talking baseball for the first time on this show this year. Well, since this show started. So looking forward to that. We should be ready to rock and roll with regular Monday, Wednesday shows, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. All right. So just make sure you're aware of that. We'll be on Mondays and Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Friday, we won't be on. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, I won't be on because I'm doing the NBA show with Ski Profit, Dutch, and Wham at that time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's going to be the schedule moving forward. Let's start with NBA. We'll go through the card quickly. Portland, Orlando. We've got the Magic, 16.5 point home favorites, 210 the total. I like the over here. I've been taking overs with Portland lately, and they have really been cashing in for the most part. This team's been kind of suffering and lacking a little bit at the defensive end of the basketball court, and we have seen that lately. They've been trending over to the tune of 7-1 in their last 8 games have gone over the total. We saw another one with Portland and Miami over the weekend. Orlando's the other way. They've gone 4 straight unders, but I think in this matchup here, we could see enough points to get this one there. Again, this Portland team is just not exactly in great defensive form right now. Orlando is a very good defensive team, but I think in this game you could see them score a bunch of points here. They did score 118 against Memphis and held Memphis to 88, but I think in this matchup here, the total, and it's been bet up a little bit. I agree. Portland overs have been part of my repertoire lately, so that's what I'm going to look at there. Nothing on the side. I mean, Orlando should win, but you're not going to see me laying 16.5 in an NBA game. Brooklyn and Indiana. Indiana 12.5 point home favorites. 227 is the total in this game. The Indiana Pacers, of course, trying to get on a little bit of a run here down the stretch of the regular season. They've kind of been alternating wins and losses. And that's the way it's been for the most part the last 10 games. They're off a win against the Lakers. Can they be trusted now to follow it up with a good performance? And not only that, but laying double digits here in this game as well on their home court against the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn lost 116-104 to the Lakers yesterday, so this is going to be the second of a back-to-back for the Brooklyn Nets going into this game tonight against Indiana. So thinking this one, I don't trust the Nets on the back-to-back, but don't love the Indiana side at this number. I still don't love Indiana when they're being asked to lay double digits. So definitely we'll be staying away from that game. Boston, Charlotte. Boston 17.5 point road favorites and the total 220. This is probably one where I'd go a split bet with Boston team total over as well as the full game over. Boston's been kind of trending over lately. Look, their defense just hasn't been nearly as good. You know, we saw what happened against Atlanta, you know, where they lost those 2 games as massive double-digit favorites. Defense kind of collapsed in the second half in both of those games. They did bounce back against New Orleans on the road, 104-92 victory on Saturday. Still, it's a team that's obviously offensively capable when they've got everybody in the lineup. But defensively, we've seen them kind of come back down to earth a little bit here in recent games. Of course, with Boston, as always, you're going to want to check to see who's in. It looks like tonight we've got Porzingis and Jaylen Brown currently listed as game time decisions. The fact this point spread really hasn't moved a ton kind of tells me they might be in the lineup tonight for Boston. So again, what I would look at here is probably a first Boston team total over split with the full game over, and hoping that Charlotte can do enough, because Boston should be able to do enough to get there. I mean, they scored 121 against Charlotte the last time these teams met in Charlotte. Last year, it was 127, 130, and 122, and 140 in the last 4 meetings before that Boston scored on this Charlotte team. So, you know, they've had no problem putting up the points. So I would probably look at Celtics team total over and split that up a little bit with the full game over here with Boston and Charlotte tonight. Memphis and Detroit. Detroit 2.5 point home favorites here. The total 216 across the board. You know, these games late in the season, where you're talking about these teams that are out of it, they can be tricky. I will say this, for as bad as things have been for Memphis, they've had 3 straight double-digit losses at Denver, home to the Lakers, and then at Orlando. They got eviscerated by 30 on Saturday. But can we trust Detroit laying points? I mean, Detroit is not favored very often. Now, the last time they were was against Toronto. They were 3.5-point home favorites March 13th. They won and covered 113-104. Maybe we should trust Detroit, but I'm not ready to do that. Memphis has actually played Detroit quite well. If you look at series history, Memphis 5-0 straight up, 4-0-1 against the spread the last 5 meetings against Detroit. And the one thing about the Grizzlies is they're not good. They've been decimated, obviously, all season with injuries. There's no question. I mean, they've got Scottie Pippen Jr. as their point guard. That tells you all you need to know, about the injury situation that they've had to deal with. They've got Luke Kennard, G.G. Jackson. Only Jaren Jackson is the only starter that would be, on the a fully healthy Memphis team. Only Jaren Jackson in the starting 5 would be on that team right now in the starting lineup. So it tells you how much they've been decimated, but they have really owned Detroit to the tune where I'm actually kind of tempted to take Memphis plus 2.5, plus 3 here in this game. We're just, Detroit's not a team I'm rushing to lay points with. So not a game I love. It's an ugly game to be sure, but I would lean a little to Memphis there. Atlanta, Chicago, we've got the Bulls 2-point home favorites, 221 being the total in this game. Atlanta's one of those weird teams to gauge right now, but I will say this about Atlanta. Lately it's been a little bit better from them. They beat Charlotte. They have those 2 impressive wins as big home underdogs against Boston. They win and cover against Portland in between. They lose to the Bucks 122-113, but I was impressed with Atlanta that they were down big at halftime and they came back and they made that game tight, and Milwaukee had to work for it in the fourth quarter. Atlanta looked like they were coming back a little bit in that game. So give the Hawks credit. They have been a little bit better in terms of their current form. It looks like tonight, though, Trae Young, of course, still out. But I think the offense is a little more fluid, quite honestly, because with DeJounte Murray and Trae Young both on the court at the same time, they get into a little bit of an issue where who's going to command the offense, who's going to take that big shot. You don't have those issues as much now, and I think it's kind of leading to a little bit more harmony right now for Atlanta. So I actually lean to the Atlanta side here, plus 2.5, because the one thing about Chicago, their opponent tonight, Chicago, off a loss, they're often pretty good, and we saw that at Minnesota. They won outright 109-101 as 8.5-point road underdogs. But off a win, they have not been all that good. You go back and look to March 13th. They won at Indiana. They lost straight up in ATS. Their next game against the Clippers. They won against Washington and covered. They didn't cover their next game against Portland. They beat Indiana at home. They lost at Brooklyn 2 nights later. I mean, this has just not been a team. That's why they're 36-39, Chicago. They have not done a good job following a win with a good performance. So I would lean to Atlanta here, plus 2, plus 2.5 in this game. I probably will get involved and bet that. I actually think Atlanta's form's pretty good right now. I think they got a chance to go into Chicago, win that game, given the Bulls' inconsistencies and recent struggles off a win. All right, Phoenix, New Orleans, the final game in the NBA tonight. Pelicans 1.5-point home favorites, 223 the total in this game. Phoenix is still a very tough team to figure out. They had been playing better, but they get blown out by Oklahoma City, 128-103 on Friday night. They'll look to rebound from that here tonight at New Orleans, which will not be easy because you've got the Pelicans off a home loss to the Boston Celtics looking to bounce back here in this game. To be quite honest with you, going into this matchup right now with what I'm seeing here, I trust the Pelicans, especially defensively, more than I trust Phoenix right now. Keep an eye on the injury situation because I do believe Brandon Ingram is going to miss another game here for the New Orleans Pelicans. So keep an eye on that. It looks like Brandon Ingram already has been ruled out here for the Pelicans with the knee injury. He's been out 5 games because of that injury. Looks like he's going to miss a 6th straight game here tonight for the New Orleans Pelicans. But I'd still take New Orleans as a pick 'em here at home against Phoenix. I don't trust Phoenix on the road. I don't like what I see from them in terms of defensive lack of consistency. I mean, how do you go from giving up 97, a great road win against the defending NBA champion Denver Nuggets, and then you give up 128 the next game against Oklahoma City? So there's zero consistency to speak of for this Phoenix team. And outside of that win against Denver, which was a good win, we've also seen them get blown out at Boston, blown out at Milwaukee, in some of their other recent step up in class games away from home. So I think Pelicans would be the side for me in this game. All right, that's the NBA. Let's quickly turn our attention to MLB for the rest of the show. Like I said, it's going to be a rapid fire show. Reds and Phillies. I think that's a pitching matchup advantage for the Phillies and certainly a lineup advantage, but minus 145, I don't know if I love that price. I'll tell you what, I lean to the over, and I lean to the over in a lot of MLB games today because it's been overpalooza early in the season here in Major League Baseball. But I think I might wait and bet a live over and try to get these bullpens in play. Maybe it does start off slow because neither of these bullpens to me are trustworthy. The Reds bullpen and certainly the Phillies bullpen after what we saw against Atlanta. St. Louis and San Diego. You got the Cardinals, by the way. It's not big-time travel, but I'm always leery of backing those teams when they played on Sunday Night Baseball, and now they're playing the very next night without a day off, and that's what we're seeing here with St. Louis as they're in San Diego here tonight after just a gut-wrenching loss to the Dodgers last night. But that's what the Dodgers can do this year with their offense. They're never out of a game. You've got in this matchup Kyle Gibson for St. Louis, Waldron on the mound for San Diego. I think I would take Padres here, probably split it up first 5 full game. Actually, you know what? Maybe full game might be the preferred method because St. Louis bullpen certainly had to work extensively over the weekend against the LA Dodgers. And now without a day off, and you played on Sunday night, how much is in the tank of that Cardinal bullpen? They've already had to log a bunch of innings here early in the season, especially in that Dodgers series. So I think the Padres probably have the advantage there. I think at minus 110, I would probably look toward them or a Padres team total over. You could even do a split between both of those. You've got San Francisco and the Dodgers, Wynn versus Paxton. Dodgers aren't going to win every single game this year. They're going to be a tricky team to bet on or against because you're never going to get true value with them because everybody knows how good and loaded they are. But there's going to be spots to bet against them. This could be one of those spots. San Francisco, I think, could be live here. I mean, I'm certainly interested to maybe take a couple of shekels here and put it on the Giants here, plus 170, plus 180. Dodgers had to play last night. Now, I know they don't have to travel. They stay at Dodger Stadium, unlike the Cardinals who have to travel to San Diego, but you're still playing the Sunday nighter. And I have a huge, huge question mark besides James Paxton. Like, what the hell are we going to get from him? He's an older guy. He's been through surgeries galore, injuries galore. What is there left for him right now as far as any sort of viable quality MLB arm at this point in time? I've got significant question marks about James Paxton and whether this reclamation project attempt that the LA Dodgers are going through with him is going to work. So I think the Giants are worth a shot here at this price. I certainly am going to bet another Dodgers over. They've been good to me. This total's already been bet up from 8 to 8.5. I'm seeing 9s now starting to appear, but I like it. I mean, the Dodgers are a dead nuts over team game to game this year. We've already seen all but one of the games in that St. Louis series for the Dodgers go over the total. And the one game that stayed under, by the way, was a 7-1 final score. Just barely, and I mean barely stayed under the total. This is obviously a ridiculously good offense. Mookie Betts finally got held down last night, but he'd been ripping the cover off the ball before that. Probably Mookie Betts over 1.5 total bases. Probably will be a good prop bet in this game. But yeah, I like the Giants. I like over 8.5. That would be the way I would play it here. Take a shot with the Giants. I just have question marks about Paxton. I think the Giants can score some runs tonight in this game as well. All right, next up, Kansas City, Baltimore. Michael Waka Flocka Flame, Dean Kramer, the pitching matchup here in this one. Don't feel strongly about this. Waka is kind of one of those pitchers where he can pitch a serviceable 5 innings, 3 runs, and then there's nights where he's going to get roughed up. In theory, I don't like the concept of betting against Baltimore off a loss and at home again against an inferior team. Like they finally lost to the Angels yesterday, final game of that weekend series. I think they're going to want to bounce back here. Baltimore's the lean for me, but I don't love the price enough at minus 150 to minus 170. So it's probably going to be a pass. I say this with the Orioles. When they're at home and they're laying numbers like that, minus 170, like they are here, bet the team total. More than likely, when the Orioles are going to win, especially at Camden Yards, they're going to win by scoring runs. They're going to win by slugging the baseball, which that lineup with Rutschman and Henderson and Austin Hayes and Mountcastle and all those guys that are capable of hitting the ball that's what they're going to do. Look at the 2 wins that the Baltimore Orioles had against the Angels. They scored 11 and 13. The game they lost, they scored 1. So, like I say, if the Orioles are going to win at home and you see them laying a price like this, minus 170, don't bet minus 170 money line. Bet the team total over 4.5, because more than likely, if Baltimore is going to win at home this year and they're going to be favored in this price range, why would you want minus 170 in your pocket when you can get over 4.5 at like plus 110, plus 105 in this game? So, like I say, Baltimore team total is the way to go. I've already cashed a couple team totals with the Orioles at home this year. That's the way I'm going to approach them when they're at home and they're too big of a favorite. All right, next up, we've got Texas and Tampa Bay. Rays minus 125, home favorites, 8.5 total in this one. Rays split the 4-game series with the Blue Jays over the weekend, and the defending World Series champion Texas Rangers 2-1 in their opening series at home against the Chicago Cubs. Ryan Pepio going to be on the mound for the Rays. Dane Dunning for the Texas Rangers here in this game. Pepio is a guy that I think's got some potential here, and you know how well the Rays work with their pitching and can get the most out of him. 2.76 ERA, 5-1 record with the Dodgers last year. Ryan Pepio, of course, going the other way in the deal for Glasnow in the offseason. He had a very good last year in his starts. He went really well as well. 8 games, 2.14 ERA. He did have some control issues, but he's certainly got swing and miss ability. And then on the flip side, you got Dane Dunning, who's a serviceable, pitcher for this Texas team. He knows how to pitch. Is he going to be dominant? No, but he knows how to pitch. We'll see how he fares here. It's worth noting when it comes to Dane Dunning, 3.70 ERA last year, 3 career starts against the Rays, 1.13 ERA. He's really done well against Tampa in the past, Dane Dunning. So there's not many unders I like in this card. This could be one of them, though, especially a first 5 under, maybe with the Rays and the Rangers in this game. Nothing on the side for me, though. Toronto and Houston. Bowden Francis making a spot start for the Blue Jays. He's been a reliever primarily for this team most of his career, but now he's going to work in a starting role here against Blanco here for Houston. Houston minus 150, home favorites, 9 the total. I'm not laying a price with Houston right now. That was not a good weekend series against the Yankees. Now, I know the Yankees look on paper to be better than last year, no doubt. I think their lineup's more dangerous. I think their starting pitching could be a lot better as well. But for Houston to get smoked at home and lose all 4 games, not a good look. I'm not laying a price with them. I'd take a shot with the Jays or pass, quite honestly. Here in this game. What are we going to get out of Ronel Blanco? Here is the question for the Astros. And plus, Bowden Francis was very good in the spring. He was very, very good in the spring. And look, when you see what he's done here, 20 relief appearances last year, 35 strikeouts and 36.1 innings, and he had a .83 WHIP last year for the Blue Jays. So he earned this spot. He was lights out in spring for the Blue Jays. We'll see what we get out of Blanco here. He only had a 4.5 ERA last year, Ronel Blanco, in 2023 with the Astros. So I might do a little Blue Jays team total split here in this game. Blue Jays team total is only 4.5 at plus money. Split it with a little shot on them on the money line here, plus 125. And another thing, too, about Houston, their bullpen hasn't been great to start the year either. So, like I say, I'm not laying a minus 150 or minus 140 with an 0-4 baseball team. Not right now with Houston. Boston and Oakland. Houck and Boyle, the matchup here. I think this one I would lean over with this game. Oakland is obviously a team offensively. They're going to be a little bit challenged at times, but you could make the argument that their pitching is even more challenged. I mean, my goodness, this Oakland team, what did they give up in the 4 games? Cleveland's not even a mash it type of lineup. Then they gave up 8, 6, 12 in the first 3 games of that series. They've finally held Cleveland to 3 yesterday. Blackburn pitched well. I think he's the only decent arm they have right now. And they won 4-3. But Boyle doesn't project to do too well. His numbers are middling. You look at Houck, he's not usually someone that's going to go and eat up a bunch of innings. You've got bullpen issues galore for both teams. Oakland has a terrible bullpen. Boston's bullpen has gotten off to a pretty rough start. That was not a great series from the Red Sox bullpen against the Seattle Mariners over the weekend. So I think over 8 is the way I would go with the A's and the Red Sox. Cleveland, Seattle. I kind of like to back Cleveland here. Cleveland's playing well, 3-1. I know it was Oakland to win those 3 of those 4 games, but I like Tristan McKenzie. I've always viewed him as kind of a bet-on pitcher. He's got great swing and miss stuff. He's obviously had trouble at times staying healthy, but I like what he's got in terms of the pitching arsenal, and I'm looking to back him. I'm certainly looking at either that, Cleveland, or maybe Tristan McKenzie over strikeouts, because he's really got good swing and miss stuff. Now, the one concern is, and because Hancock doesn't have great numbers for Seattle, 4.5 ERA, and he had injury issues last year. I think McKenzie, assuming he's healthy, look, 5.06 ERA last year, but he was very good 2 years ago. And then he had, of course, the ulnar collateral ligament sprain. And then he had, the muscle strain after that. So he's had lots of injuries. But it's kind of like a buy low on a guy that, if he is right and if he is healthy, and it's a big if, he's got good stuff. He has been walloped by Seattle in the past. 3 career starts, and the numbers aren't great for McKenzie. But I think it's buy low for a guy that's got a very high ceiling if he can stay healthy. So I would look at Cleveland here as a small road favorite there in Seattle. Angels and Marlins with Silseth and Meyer. The Angels finally salvaged a game, avoided the sweep against Baltimore on Sunday. I'm not still looking to back them going on the road. Miami, though, gosh, Miami. What a brutal year this could be for them. I mean, I have their under-season win total, and I didn't think they were going to get swept, though, by Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not, a juggernaut by any stretch, but 0-4 against the Pirates over the weekend. It's going to be a real tough year for them. I think situationally, it's a pretty good spot for Miami, but can you trust them? At the same point in time, still Seth is not someone I'm overly impressed with. I think it's a good spot to say, you know what, it's time for Miami to get on the board, get a win, but man, it is tough to back this team, and it's even tougher to back them when they're a favorite, and like they are here, albeit a very small favorite. So I'm probably going to stay off, but I think if Miami's going to get off the schneid, this, I think, in theory, is a good spot for them to get off the schneid. We'll see if they can get it done. Detroit and the New York Mets. We've got Olsen for the Tigers on the mound. Reese Olsen, Sean Manaea, the veteran lefty for the Mets. The Mets are a disaster. There's no chance in hell I'm laying a price with them. I am going to take a little Detroit here. Olsen's kind of a guy that I think can be respectable. I remember Reese Olsen last year, someone that I backed, on a few occasions last year. He had an ERA below 4. It was better than Sean Manaea's ERA last year for the New York Mets. And at least with Detroit, we've seen them offensively get some punch in their lineup. The bullpen's pitched a little bit better. They've gotten good starts from Rodriguez and from they've gotten good starts over the weekend, not from Rodriguez, but from Flaherty was solid. Skubal was very good. And as for the Mets, there's nothing you can say that was good against Milwaukee. The starting pitching struggled. Severino was a disaster. Miguel wasn't much better. A bullpen wasn't good, and they didn't score runs. They were held to 2 runs in 2 of the losses. So it would be Detroit at a plus price for me. I mean, I'm not laying a price with this Mets team right now. That simple. Yankees and Diamondbacks, final game. Gill versus Nelson here in this one. Yankees are a hot commodity. But doesn't this feel like a bit of a tricky spot? I mean, you just went into Houston and you swept the Astros, a team that you have a history with, mostly a bad history. But you went in there and you swept them, took every game in that series. Now you're going to Arizona. It just feels like it's not a great Yankee spot. The question's going to be, what do we get from these pitchers? Ryan Nelson for the Arizona Diamondbacks, capable enough. We'll see how he fares here in this one. But Luis Gil is going to get the start here. 3.78 ERA, 7 career starts, but he hasn't pitched at the major league level in 2 years. So let's see how he fares here. And remember, Tommy John surgery, this guy, Luis Gil. So who the hell knows how he's going to fare? Ryan Nelson, by the way, 5.31 ERA last year, not the greatest of numbers, but I still think he's got the capability, to pitch better than he showed in the regular season. Let's not forget when it comes to the Arizona Diamondbacks in the playoffs last year, they got some decent innings out of Ryan Nelson, in the postseason run that they made before they lost to Texas in the World Series. So I don't know. I just think Arizona situationally, it's a decent spot here to take the Diamondbacks, the Snakes, here as a small home underdog. I'd probably lean in that direction when it comes to the Yankees and the Diamondbacks. So there you have it, NBA and MLB for this Monday here on Bet with Bobano. We'll leave you with a best bet in both. One NBA, one MLB best bet. NBA best bet. I'm going to take Atlanta. There we go. Get the Hawk sound out. Atlanta plus 2.5 against Chicago. Chicago's not been good off a win. Atlanta's played. Their form's been better. I actually think their offense looks more fluid, believe it or not, with only Murray as opposed to Murray and Trey out on the court. So I'll take Atlanta plus 2.5 against Chicago for my NBA best bet. For my MLB best bet for this Monday night slate, let's go with Giants-Dodgers over 8.5. There's 8.5 at Bet Online minus 125. Some books have moved to 9. Dodgers overs just keep on padding my wallet, padding my bankroll, and I think that can continue here tonight in that game. I don't trust Paxton. I'm going to have to see it before I believe it. I think Wynn could actually outpitch him, but Wynn's also going up against a Dodgers lineup that has been just crushing the ball here to begin the season. So I doubt that Wynn is going to get through this Dodgers lineup unscathed. And the Giants do have a suspect bullpen, in my opinion. So we'll probably see enough runs, in my opinion, to get that game up and over the total. So San Francisco Giants, LA Dodgers, over 8.5, minus 125 for my MLB best bet. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Bet with Bobano. By the way, a reminder once again, Dub Club, sign up. I'm telling you, it's one of the best bargains that you could ever ask for as far as a sports betting subscription service. dubclub.win/r/Bobano is the URL. It's also posted on my Twitter/X account at Bobano Bets. Get on board. We have a 1-month all sports discount that is now available. $50 US for 1 month all sports, which is down from the regular price of $75. Right now, we've got NHL, NBA, the remainder of the college basketball and college hockey tournaments. I just started handicapping college hockey for the NCAA tournament. Ended up going 7-0. Perfect sweep over the weekend in the college hockey tournament. So obviously, I made a good decision starting to handicap that. We absolutely crushed it over the weekend with that. UFL is part of it. We had a profitable UFL weekend highlighted by the Memphis Showboats winning outright against the Houston Roughnecks yesterday. I couldn't believe Memphis was the dog in that game. They had the better roster. They had the better quarterback. Case Cookus is a very good spring football quarterback. I thought Memphis was deserving of being the favorite in that game. They weren't. They were the dog, and it was wrong team favored, and Memphis led wire to wire in that game against Houston to cash my first UFL best bet of the season. We're rolling good right now. It's been a nice winning season in NBA, college basketball. NHL, I need to pick it up a little. That has gone through a little bit of an up and down run here since the All-Star break, but there's lots of NHL regular season left, playoffs. MLB has gotten off to a tremendous start. The player props have been good. Cash and strikeout props, home run props, RBI props, total bases props. The props have been good. Sides and totals off to a very good start this year. Already plus 2.9 units of profit in MLB, and we're only a few days into the season. That's 2,900 profit. And remember, most of my bets are 0.1 units, quarter unit, and half unit each. We're not betting 1, 2, 5 units per bet. Small unit sizes that you could easily manage your bankroll that way. And that's why we do it that way, especially as a high volume bettor. So again, great time to get on board. dubclub.win/r/Bobano. I'm a high volume bettor. The card is always loaded in each sport every day, but out of respect to the subscribers and the members that are lower volume bettors that only want a couple of plays, 2 or 3 or 4 bets a day in a certain sport. I also post a short card most days where it's a bigger slate for those people that prefer a lower volume of wagers. So the short card in each sport also gets posted on the Dub Club page for members as I try to isolate my stronger opinions with that. So again, get on board. It's a nice $50 per month price right now. The discount is only available until the end of the NCAA basketball tournament. So once we get to the national championship game next Monday night, it goes back to the regular price of $75 monthly. So again, sign up, Dub Club, join me. Long term, the results will be profitable. I am fully confident in that across all sports, just as it's been for the last couple of years. So dubclub.win/r/Bobano. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's been another edition of Bet with Bobano. We will do this again Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Ian Cameron. Enjoy the games and good luck. Have a great Monday night, and we will see you again Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Until then, bet like Tony Soprano, bet with Bobano, and we'll see you Wednesday for another edition of Bet with Bobano.